Hey babes, my name's Hannah. Welcome back to Bookish Babes, and today I'm going to be telling you guys all about my February reading wrap up. So the first book I read in the month of February is City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. So City of Glass is the third installment of the Shadowhunter series, which I am slowly but surely getting my way through, and this one has been my favorite by far. If you've at all read the series, you know why I didn't like the second one, but I liked this one way better. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. We get to meet Sebastian in this one. We kind of get to learn more about Simon as a character, and we get to go back to Idris or Idris, I don't really know how to pronounce it, which is really cool. And all hell kind of breaks loose in this one also. This is kind of where, for the first time, evil infiltrates Idris, which was really interesting to see. All right, sorry for the switch in angle. I had to move the camera a little bit. But another thing I really liked about this book is you get to learn more about Jonathan Morgenstern's past, which I found really interesting. I always tend to gravitate more towards the villains in books. Not that I necessarily love Jonathan, but I loved learning more about his backstory. And just overall, this one was the most action-packed by far, at least so far. This is only the third one, and I'm really excited to continue on with the series. The next book I read in the month of February was Unchained by Helen Hart. Now, this one I unfortunately didn't like as much. I ended up rating it 3 out of 5 stars. This one follows Dante, who is a vampire who has recently escaped being held captive, which he has been held captive for years, and he immediately runs to the local hospital to get some blood bags out of the blood bank, where he runs into Erin, who is an ER nurse there. I am a sucker for a vampire novel, so I really thought I would like this one more, and I did like the way that the vampires are kind of explained in this book. They're very similar to humans, and they don't feed on humans, or it's not that they don't feed on humans, it's looked down upon to feed on humans. They tend to feed on blood bags, and I really liked that aspect of it, but unfortunately this just kind of fell short, and it kind of just felt like a bad vampire erotica. If I'm gonna read romance, I need to have more substance than this, and I just found Dante really annoying as a character. It also really lacked that character development and, frankly, the action that I expect out of a really good vampire book. So I don't know that I will be continuing on with the series. The next book I read in the month of February was part of my quest to read all of Colleen Hoover's books, and it was Confess. Confess follows Auburn, who has recently moved from Portland to Texas, and she hates it. But she has to stay for a reason that's unknown to the reader until later on in the book. But she very quickly runs out of money. She's not making enough at her day job as a hairstylist, and she happens to be walking down the street when she sees a help wanted sign in the window. Now, said window happens to be to a art studio who is owned by Owen, and he hires her immediately. He really needs help for an art exhibit that night, and he offers her $200 cash just to accept payments for his pieces. Now, you very quickly in the novel learn that this is actually not the first time that they've met. He does have a connection to her from earlier in his life, but learning that backstory was really interesting. Overall, I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars, which I do with most all of Colleen Hoover's books. I loved this one. I loved the dynamic. I loved the angst. I'm a sucker for like an angsty man, and this one has the kind of quality and it has the substance that I need. Like I previously said, if I'm gonna read a romance, it needs to have more substance. It can't just be all, oh, I love this guy, oh, we're gonna have a bunch of sex. I just can't. And Confess definitely had a ton of action, and it gave a lot of details on the backstory, and I really loved the dynamic and the connection between the two of them. So Owen actually has like a confession box in his studio where people can anonymously write down like their deepest, darkest secrets, and that's actually where he gets the inspiration for all of his paintings, which I think is super interesting and was probably the coolest part of the book for me. Clearly, I was just on a romance kick this month because the next book I read was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. Overall, I did find Archer's Voice to be very enjoyable. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. It did have the substance that I need in a romance novel. However, the reason I knocked off that 1 star is it was very predictable. Granted, a super predictable romance novel isn't always the worst thing. However, I sometimes like to be a little bit challenged, and this one was not much of a challenge. But that being said, this book follows a girl named Bree who has recently endured something very tragic in her life, and she decides to leave everything behind and go on this road trip to this small little town on the beach in Maine, where she runs into a guy named Archer who is very mysterious and seems to not be able to speak. As you can probably guess by everything that I've said in this video, I am a sucker for a good backstory, and Archer has a really good backstory. Not good in the sense that it's like light and fluffy, because it's not, but it's something that I really enjoyed hearing about, and it's something that once again added that substance that I need from a romance novel. I can't just read something that's light and fluffy. It doesn't do anything for me. I like to kind of put the puzzle pieces together in my brain, and that was really provided to me by this book. However, like I said, it was predictable, and it was kind of just, the ending was just kind of bleh to me. It was happy, it was fluffy, it was light, it was heartwarming, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't have guessed from the first page. One of my favorite things about Archer's voice, though, was actually some of the side characters. Bree has a friend who I absolutely adored, and also when Bree moves to this town in Maine, she gets a job at a local diner, and the owners of the diner were just so wholesome, and I loved them so much. If you read this book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They are the cutest old couple ever. So like I said, I gave Archer's Voice 4 out of 5 stars. If you're looking for just a really nice contemporary romance, I would recommend picking it up. The last book I read this month was Verity by Colleen Hoover, which was her first psychological thriller, if you don't count Too Late, and I really enjoyed it. I did rate it 4 out of 5 stars, which is new for me with Colleen Hoover's book. Everything else that I've read by her, I've rated 5 out of 5 stars, as I previously said. But I'm not going to talk all that much about it because next week I'm actually going to be uploading a whole spoiler-filled review of it. All I'm going to say in this video about it is that if you haven't read it, I really recommend it. The 1 star being knocked off was almost kind of a personal thing. Overall, it was a really, really, really great psychological thriller. So that's it for this week's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below and tell me what you read in the month of February. I'm very interested to hear about it. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.